This orientation is locked. Rotate the device. God damn, man. Trying to drive here, peoples. Alright. Let's see what it do. Alright. So this is let's try this. I'm gonna give YouTube some more attention, man. YouTube is a whole different place than Instagram. For those of you that don't follow me on Instagram, um, I have a little bit more of a following. Not that I'm like super famous or anything like that, but I definitely have like a more catered audience on Instagram of producers, engineers, and then artists that I work with. Uh, I feel like on YouTube, I have like content that's like so many different ways from mixing stuff to producer stuff to beats I made, but I don't really have a lot of um, stuff kind of explaining my story for people who are new here. So I'm going to use this to kind of like just talk a little bit about my origin story. Somebody was in my comments trolling me, talking about, I listen to scream music and I never heard of Bruce Bang, which that's cool, because my whole thing for a large part of my career, I've been in the mix out the way, like my partner Steve-O says. Um, but it's like in the late '90s, I was going to school for engineering. I never was in the studio with DJ Screw, and never have I ever claimed to be. But I've worked with a lot of the artists from the Screwed Up Click, damn near almost everybody. Um, the first one I worked with was Big Hawk, rest in peace, and I actually produced a record on his one of his albums called What Y'all Boys Know. And when me and Hawk got together in the studio, he was actually coming to drop a feature for my boy Dre Key, the Ghetto Millionaire. I'll never forget because he was like one of the most like crunkest dudes at the time that he was just completely in his own mode, like super country. I think he's like from maybe Huntsville or somewhere in that area, and it was always like fun working with him. Like he had gold teeth. He was like super, outspoken, and then the vibes were good in the studio. So Hawk came to get on a song with him. I can't remember the name of it. And back in the day, there's no MP. Oh shit. So like back in the day, there's like no MP3s and let me email you this beat. Um, and if you're a producer, you're not even really producing in the computer at this time. It's more of drum machines and keyboards. So if I had a badass beat in my drum machine to get it to the artist, that was like a whole nother thing to do that. Because for one, if you don't have a CD burner, you can't burn a CD of it. If you don't have a DAT tape, you can't record it to like a digital kind of tape. You might have to record that bitch to cassette. So back then, I don't even remember what I did, honestly. I think at that point, um, when I was working at the studio, Southern Fried Entertainment, shout out to Marlon and Tim, Les Cross, my boy Joseph Hearns, and Lil D was working next door. Crazy C and Mad Hatter were working downstairs. It was like a really dope setup in Mo City, in Stafford. But yeah, at the time, I was going to school for engineering at San Jacinto College, which I later got my music business degree and engineering and all that stuff. But um, when I was working at the studio, everything was like digital tapes. There was not really too much computer stuff going on. I think they just had got like an iMac, which back in the day it was like this big old like colorful, box looking computer, and that shit looked space age. And I remember people used to pay me. They would bring their digital DAT tapes and they would pay me basically to burn it to CD. So I'm like pushing play on the DAT tape player, recording it into the computer, and then I forgot the name of the program. It might have been like Toast or something like that. But basically, and they're like, "Yeah, can you master for me?" Because back then it's like when you get something on DAT tape, it's like you're not, you don't have all these. If you don't have access to limiters and compressors that were in the computer, people didn't have all that hardware and shit back then. That shit was hella expensive. Like, probably 10, 15 grand for like limiters and really good converters and like mastering grade equipment. So what I was doing is they would bring me, the DAT tape. I would get it in the computer, put it in Toast, and then it had a gain button. Like you could turn it up 1 dB, 2 dB, 3 dB, and then I had the little meters up there. I could see if it was like peaking. So that's like some of my first engineering jobs I ever got besides just recording people is the transition into people being able to burn CDs. That shit was like really crazy. And we were one of the first studios that had that capability because we had the Mac with the CD burner. And blank CDs were expensive. The CD burners were expensive. They were hella slow. I remember when you're burning CDs back in the day, if you had a 60-minute CD, it'll probably take 60 minutes to burn it. You have to record it. If you're recording in real time, they had those kind of CD burners where you could just play into it, record it real time. But like if you're on the computer and you have like a playlist of songs you want to burn, like WAV files or whatever, it would literally be 1x, and then they upgraded, and then you have 2x the speed, then you have 4x the speed, then you have 16 times the speed. So it was really a tedious process to burn CDs when it first started. Um, that's why people are paying 20 bucks for an album in the store, because if you didn't have that technology, how else were you going to hear your favorite song over and over? And what really fucked the game up is those CD burners. It allowed a lot of piracy and bootlegs because it was digital quality. Before that, when you're going cassette tape to cassette tape, every time you record or dub somebody's cassette tape, it's losing quality because it's going from like this cassette to this cassette, and it's adding noise, or whatever the case is. Like every time you duplicate that, you kind of lose quality. Having those CDs was the first time where people could like um, mass produce their CDs without having to send it off to like a distribution plant, or like CD, what's it called, disc makers back in the day. So disc makers, you would send in your one master CD that had all your songs on it, your artwork, the album layout, and then you'd send it off. You might have to wait a week, I don't know, and then to get 1,000 hard copy CDs back. And then what kind of killed that is then they started, you could purchase like towers of CD burners. So you could purchase like a tower with like 10 CDs burning at the same time, or 20 CDs burning at the same time. And you would have like, the hustlers, like the local people who was really trying to like either get their music out, or do it as a service, or bootleg music. You know what I'm saying? They're like going hard, like just ripping CDs and duplicating CDs and bootlegging CDs all the time. So that was kind of the start of like how the music game got fucked up, which leads us to now. We got people paying next to nothing, like on YouTube, or the free Spotify plan, where you can just listen to music for free, or by watching some commercials. Let's say that's kind of what pays. Um, that's how YouTube gets paid, and maybe the artist. Hopefully, the artist gets paid something. But when what I'm trying to do now is like there's been a shift, I think, since the pandemic, really, to where everybody realizes how fucked up all the royalty system and the distribution system and like all the streaming platforms, how everything is kind of designed in the record label's favor, the tech platform's favor. It's not really benefiting the artist besides discovery. If you want to get your song heard, you kind of have to put it on these platforms if you're not well known. But there's also been a hybrid strategy that I've seen artists use. That's what I'm doing with my project, Lo-Fi Chronicles. So what I'm going to do is, right now I have a sign up link in my, I think it's in my bio here, or you can go to my Instagram, you can go to my website, boojbang.com. And I have a wait list where you can join with your phone number or your email. I've already uploaded the project to it. It's kind of been ingested. Now I'm just kind of like making like clean edits and doing all that kind of stuff, the administrative side, getting the songs registered. But on this Even platform, if you want access to the music as soon as it drops and be the first one to get access to it before the people on Apple Music, before people on Spotify, before the whole world gets to access this music, you'll have an opportunity. And it's a pay what you want kind of system, like what Russell is doing. I think I have the minimum set up on this $5. Like, I mean, $5. Come on, man! It's my birthday tomorrow. Like, if you can't get $5 for like, I feel like what is like a really solid start to like good project. Shoot, just wait like everybody else, and then you can get it on Apple Music, um, Spotify, Tidal, all that good stuff later. Which at the earliest that might be March 31st. But depending how this release on Even goes and the pre-orders, I'm gonna kind of see. I may drop everything on streaming platforms all at once, like the whole project. So right now it's just like the first 7 records that are gonna be on available on Even, and when I drop the full Slow-Fi Chronicles, it'll probably have 15 to 20 records. So whether that's in 2 volumes or 3 volumes, I'm not sure yet. But my goal, I think I've said this before, but I'm basically trying not to sit on music. I'm trying to work with who's working right now, who's dropping music right now. And the music that I work on this 30 days is going to come out the next 30 days. So I'm trying not to sit on anything more than a month, definitely not more than a month or two. And in the midst of all these new records I'm making with all these artists, sometimes people I've never worked with that I've been wanting to work with. Sometimes it's like people I've been doing songs with, but we never done anything for me. We've always, worked on their music. So basically, it's going to be an ongoing thing. And the next one might be Slow Fire Chronicles Volume 2, or it might be a whole nother name. I don't know yet. I'm just kind of like still kind of experimenting with the slow-fi, um, the sonics of what lo-fi is. It's kind of like reminiscent of what I grew up listening to, um, and I listened to a lot of music, but the screwed up era was definitely like the 3 in the morning and the great tapes. All my partners like I'm driving around, riding, listening to what they're listening to, and then we're hearing all like the stuff from the West Coast get chopped and screwed, and then the Houston rappers like rapping on it. That shit was epic as hell. There wasn't no really thing as mixtapes back then, and the way those sonically sounded, it was some different shit, and it's really cool to be like, damn, this is from our city, this is from Texas. And then now, of course, you have that has infiltrated into like R&B and hip hop culture across the globe because they're putting pitched vocals and chopped stuff and and everything now. And there's a lot of people doing it in the city. I feel like that came up on that music as well. Of course, as well as like the OGs that have been making their brand of music. Um, but kind of just like working with Kiki, working with Paul, working with Lil O, working with Zero. Uh, they're also like they're trying to like innovate and make some new shit too. Like they ain't just trying to do what they were doing in the 2000s. Um, a lot of times people they want to hear like those screwed and chopped hooks and the steel tippins and the I'm a G and all that kind of stuff. But it's like they ain't trying to make just a whole album of that. And I think there is a demographic of people who want to hear that that essence of those sonics, but with like some new flavor on it. You know what I'm saying? Like people who weren't from that era talking about shit that's going on right now, or hearing singers singing over screwed up type beats and flows, and uh, so that's one aesthetic to it. And then also bring in the live element, having like live bass, live guitars, really working on the transitions between the songs, making it feel like a curated playlist that keeps going and going. Like you're not gonna want to skip, or you're not gonna want to like go to a different project. It's like there's enough flavors where you can just let that shit ride. And volume, I was gonna put more songs than seven. I have about 20 songs that I'm working on right now, and the reason why I didn't make it longer because the care and the time that I put in on those first seven, I want to make sure that I put that same care and time into the next volume, because the response has been so good. I'm feeling the pressure now. I'm like, okay, we started with that, and then the world hasn't even heard it yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I'm already seeing, based on the reaction that I've gotten from like a small group of people, like less than 50 people, um, they're like really fucking with it. So I just got to do my part and not cut no corners and make sure everything is good as it can be. And then hopefully we'll have Slow-Fi Chronicles Volume 2 dropping 420, something like that. But for now, if you can, you know, hit up brucebang.com, or you can follow me on Instagram. Hit the link in my bio. There's a link for Even, and like I said, it's direct to the artist. This is just a wait list. There's no pressure. You don't have to buy nothing. But if you're interested in what I'm doing and you want to get updates, kind of what's going on, anytime merch drops or I have like some behind the scenes content, I'm probably gonna drop like the instrumental versions for people who like to jam instrumentals. And then I may even do like a FaceTime call. There's some still some things that I'm adding to these tiers on Even. But right now, if you want to be the first one to check it out, hit me on Even. Bruce Bang, Slow-Fi Chronicles Volume 1. Peace.